Christian. And it was because I started to compare myself to other people. It was because I started to look at what other people had and what I didn't. Where other people lived and where I did. I was starting to really slip. To the point where I reached out to a close friend of mine that sat me down, talked to me about the resentments that I had towards people, and the bitterness that I had. And so he asked me, "Where are you getting your value from?" And it turned out that it was definitely not from Jesus, or else I wouldn't be hating my brothers and sisters. I wouldn't have this bitterness in my heart. And so he asked me, "Have you asked God to show you how valuable you are to him?" And I thought about it. It's like, no, I never really have. That is the golden question. How valuable am I to you, God? Will you show me? Will you show me how valuable I am to you? And so I asked the question, and I closed my eyes, and he took me back to a time that there's no way that I could have remembered this as an adult without Jesus. Took me back to a time when I was a kid. My parents filed for a divorce, and a custody battle raged on. I started to get into fights at my school and search for a crowd of people that would accept me as the misfit, like I felt I was. After an argument with my dad one night, I went outside and just ran. And I told my dad that I'm not going to eat until you and Mom get back together. And I realized that I was fasting to the wrong father. So I ran down my block. I ran to a public park on Kings Highway Boulevard in St. Louis after dark. And I passed by one of my friend's house. He saw me on his porch, and he saw me speed by and knew that I was in trouble. So that friend finally caught up to me at this park and sat with me. He cried as I cried, and he smiled and comforted me and just sat with me. I told him I'm running away from home and I'm never coming back, and I'm not even going to eat until my parents get back together. Obviously, he ran out after dark in the city as well, with what seemed to be no reason. He could have gotten in big trouble himself, but for some reason he didn't care. This kid had a good family. Both of his parents were together, and he had everything. He was a popular kid that had a lot of money from a settlement that him and his family had. He had all of the hottest video games, all the toys, everything that he could ever desire. And everything was just going well for him. But he decided to chase after me, the kid whose parents was going through a divorce, and risk his life even, just to sit with me. Every kid in the neighborhood wanted to come over to his house because of all the wonderful things he had. But he ran away from home that night just to be with me when I had nothing to offer. No jokes, no insight, just tears and trouble in my life. But none of that mattered to him. He wanted to be with me just because I was me. No strings attached. There was nothing to add to me. I was just me, a broken kid. And God told me, as an adult, sitting here having this vision, this is how I feel about you. There's a lot of conversations that I had with God that I think about. But one conversation that I'll never forget is that. Because Jesus told me that this is how valuable you are to me. And I want you guys I want to open up an altar type service. And I